welcome to Journeys and Journals. I'm Bernie Martin Beck, and this week is so special. It's about a quartet of giant, fuzzy angels who come to help little kids who can't help themselves. But I'd like you first to meet the host that has brought them here. Sandy, welcome, and how did you get involved with these hound dogs?
Thank you, Bernie, for having us here. It was so many years ago when I was a kid. I was just passionate about dogs, and I wanted so much to have one of my own, but I couldn't have my own pet. But I was a 4-H'er. We lived in town, and my mom found a way for us to have animals by getting me involved in 4-H. And so I was able to raise horses and cows, and one of the programs within 4-H was raising guide dog puppies. And I, for many years, wanted to do that, but it didn't work out until I was 16 when I got my first guide dog puppy. And it just changed my life in such a way. It taught me responsibility. All of a sudden, I had this little puppy that I had to take care of. I was responsible for. Everywhere that I went, it wore a little green coat, very similar to the blue ones our canine angels wear. And it would go to school with me and to the grocery store and to my swimming classes. Everything trying to teach it what it would need to know later on to become a guide dog to help someone else.
Guide dog for
the blind.
For the blind.
Yeah.
Because that is a tradition, a long-held tradition for dogs to help blind people. I know right here, Blind George had one that.
Yes.
But you know what? Do you know how far back it goes? I mean, historically.
It started in 1942, Guide Dogs for the Blind in San Rafael, California. But it started long before that in Morristown, New Jersey was the first guide dog. I don't remember the date on that one.
And maybe centuries earlier,
Probably.
Somebody blind person said, hey, come on, doggy. Then what happened after? Well, why don't we meet your friend first?
This is Dale Balme. She lives with us here in Grants Pass, Oregon, and I met her this year when she was heard about canine angels and was interested in becoming a puppy raiser. And I happened to have a litter of golden doodles, which Joe is part of, and she was very excited to take on one of these dogs and raise it for our program.
You mean, Joe, are you a volunteer, Dale?
Yes.
What's it meant to you to be a volunteer?
Well, it's been wonderful. I have always wanted to be a puppy raiser, but my children were really small, and they're at the age now where they were really interested in having a dog and doing service work at the same time. So it's been a wonderful experience. I can take the dog with me to work. I'm a teacher in the area, and so he gets a lot of exposure to the kids in the different schools.
What's the whole purpose of these well-behaved dogs? I mean, they are eyes and ears, and what are you training them for?
Well, this group of dogs, and what Canine Angels trains dogs for, are to be service dogs to help children. So we deal with all types of different disabilities. The children can be in wheelchairs, like many in the pictures here. But we also have placed dogs with children that are autistic. This year we had a little boy graduate that had a brain tumor, and he had some sight issues as well as needed a dog to retrieve things. So these dogs they don't act as guide dogs for the blind or hearing dogs for the deaf. We have 2 wonderful programs that already cover those. Service dogs typically do things like turn on lights, open doors, retrieve anything that's dropped and put it in their owner's lap, go get help if it's needed, and most importantly, act as a companion. Because oftentimes when kids are in wheelchairs, they are not very approachable by their peers, and everybody is just drawn to these little warm fuzzy bodies, and they'll come talk to them that way.
Oh, you mean my buddy attracts people? I can see that those funny fuzzy creatures, everybody here that saw them. Let me touch. May I? Oh, on camera right now is this gorgeous giant dog, and you've named this dog what?
His name is Joe Cool.
Oh. Tell me about these other dogs. They're not even going to show off for me right now other than Joe Cool.
Well, Joe Cool's brother is Snoopy, And with each litter that we have at Canine Angels, there's a theme that we choose a theme name, and they were the Peanuts gang from Charlie Brown. So all the puppies in that litter, there's 10 of them, all have a name from the Charlie Brown theme. So that's where Snoopy and Joe Cool come.
Now, you say litter. Whose litter?
Well, Canine Angels has a very small breeding colony of dogs, and we breed about 2 litters of dogs per year to raise within our program. We find there's a lot higher success rate of the dogs if they've been raised from the very beginning with the thought of becoming a service dog. We love the idea of rescuing dogs from shelters and taking in donated dogs, but a lot of times if they haven't started out as young puppies being socialized for the program, their success rate is not as high.
Oh, okay, so you get your puppy when?
He was 2 months old.
And whose puppy had it, who had the first 2 months of puppy life?
He was born down in the LA area. One of our families down there has one of the girls, the breeders for us, and she is kept with their family as their pet. And then when we need her for breeding, they whelp out the litter right there in their home, and they keep them for those first 2 months.
You used a new word for me.
What's that?
They whelp.
Ah, they have the puppies born right there in their home.
Ah,
It's called whelping.
okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
The graduation, which was out here in the Applegate Valley, I was fortunate enough to attend. Tell me about these kids that fell in love. How did they get trained to be dog lovers?
You know, a lot of kids that get a service dog, they don't start off as dog lovers. They may have never owned a dog, may have never had one in their family ever. But what they're seeking is that companionship and a dog that can help them. And some of them approach us thinking more of the dog as a tool, like a wheelchair would be. And they don't understand that it's really going to become their best friend. And others, it's the reverse. They just need a best friend, and then it turns out the dog can do so much for them as well. So when they're with us, they come as a family with their disabled child, and they spend 2 weeks with us here in Grants Pass as we teach them, match them with the right personality of dog, and then teach them how to do everything their dogs learn to do.
Yeah, because you're out in the Applegate Valley, and I understand that there are people who welcome this family.
Our neighborhood has just embraced it. It's been incredible that so many of them have wanted to help in some way by providing lunches for the students when they're here, or housing the students, and just being available for anything that we've needed.
The graduation was at the vineyard,
The Schmidt family vineyard.
Family Vineyard, and outdoors on a very warm day, and there were, I don't know, 60 or 80 people there.
Yeah.
And a lot of them, they're there with their own dogs. How are these people involved?
We opened our graduation up to the public. We had ads in the paper just to invite anybody that wanted to come, as well as there were people just visiting Schmidt Family Vineyard that stopped by as well. And so a lot of people were there for the first time, just having seen our ad and interested to find out what Canine Angels was about. And other people traveled from a long distance to help support the kids that were graduating or the families that had raised the puppies for us.
Right, you know how you'd go to a college graduation, or you might go to your boot camp, your kids' boot camp. Well, these people were there and so excited. Now the animals, you had several animals going to several people. How do you know which one gets which? I mean, is it to draw the straw, or?
No, it's a lot more complicated than that. When I train the dogs, I know what each dog is capable of, and I've met the kids usually just by seeing a video of them or talking to them on the phone. And I do my best guess at that point to say, I have a dog that can do the skills you need, and I think it would meet your lifestyle needs. At that point, I invite them to come to team training. Then you have to just wait until everybody shows up, and it becomes a game of everybody working every dog and seeing which dog works for which child the best, because chemistry really matters.
Now, were you there for this part of it? you bring your dog?
We attended just a couple of days, but just as to watch and get to know. I'm new to Canine Angels, so it was fascinating for me. And to bring Joe so that he could be one of the dogs that was in the mix, so to speak.
So he's a baby dog. He
Yes.
doesn't look baby to me.
No,
only
nine
9
months. 9 months old.
And so, what have you taught him so far?
I've taught him just a lot of very basic sit, down, shake, a lot of the basic skills, none of the formal training, but he does go with me everywhere, into stores and to work, and he's just a very relaxed, very easy dog around a variety of people. So,
Well, I see signs, no pets allowed.
mhm.
But this is not a pet.
Yes.
He's wearing a jacket that says, I'm an angel.
He even flew on an airplane this summer with me on the plane, and that was a new experience for me too. But he was wonderful, and the airlines were really very accommodating. It was much easier than I thought.
Oh,
Bernie, I just have to say one thing about puppy raisers because they are really the heart of our organization. You can't take one of these dogs and just raise it in a kennel environment and have it succeed. Only about 50% of the dogs that are raised to become service dogs actually make it as service dogs.
oh, you mean they drop out?
They drop
just
out.
like school?
They become career change. They find something different to do. But puppy raisers like Dale make it all possible because she takes this dog everywhere she goes. He's going to school and he's learning to be with somebody all the time and not just be someone's backyard pet or hang out at home. And so he gets used to seeing everything that the world might offer.
And when they came in, folks, I have a picture I'm going to show of these dogs they've known one another, but they've not been together all the time.
Yes.
Because where does this one lives in your house?
He's in my house in town.
Which one?
And Snoopy and Hawk here are at my house. And
Ah.
Denali lives with another puppy raiser in town.
Out in the Illinois Valley. These dogs are country cousins, I guess you'd say. And when they got together, it was just like 4 siblings getting together. Just, oh, so glad to see you, so glad to see you. Now, I want to zero in. Tell me, this picture shows who?
This picture has 3 of the dogs that I had in training this year. The one on the left is Lewis. He's a golden retriever. Ishi is an American Indian dog. And Denali is a female yellow lab that's laying on the floor at your feet.
On my feet.
On your feet.
Now, she is going to be placed or not?
She will be placed in about 3 months. I just finished the interview with the person she'll be going to. And I just have a few more things to train her to do, and then hopefully within 3 months she'll be ready to be placed with her person.
And do you suppose I can wake up the Indian dog?
Hawk, maybe.
Oh, they're all...
Hawk, maybe not. There he is.
Tell me, why do you call it an Indian dog?
Well, his breed is the American Indian dog, and he's a sleepy American Indian dog. If I get him too rowdy, I'll wake everybody up. But he's a very rare breed. There's only one breeder in the whole world, and he lives right here in Selma, Oregon. His name is Kim LaFlamme, and he has been trying to save this breed. It's been passed down in his family for over 50 years. He's been in charge of the breed, and they were the first breed that the Native Americans had. They were used first to babysit children when everybody would leave to go hunting. They're incredibly wonderful with children and with small animals. They were later used for hunting or for pulling travois. They were each tribe kind of created their own need for them.
Okay,
Snoopy down.
travois, another new word.
You've probably seen it in pictures where they have 2 long sticks and then they put raw hide across it, and they put their belongings on it.
You mean a wagon without wheels?
A wagon without wheels, and that's hooked behind a horse or a dog. And these little guys are very, very strong. And they even, like they are in the Iditarod. There's several teams of them pulling sleds in the Iditarod. Hawk.
And that's the Alaska race?
Yes, that big race that they do pulling the sleds. They're very, very strong, even though they're such a small dog.
Well, I first
Snoopy
learned
down.
about this
Snoopy,
Indian dog from my friend who's part Indian,
Stay.
part European, part African American, and he is a great dog lover and a mutual friend of ours.
Yes,
Curtis
Curtis.
Wright came here and could hardly wait. And this family brought 4 or 5 Indian dogs to our anniversary party because it made such a hit for everyone there. Our friend who was
They're a wonderful breed, and Kim and I have kind of started working together because he thought they would do really well in the service dog industry because they are very intelligent and wonderful with children. And so he's actually donated several dogs to our program to see if we can help create them as service dogs for children.
wonderful. I didn't know that part of the story. Now, these dogs are how old? I mean, we know that's a puppy.
The 2 golden doodles are about 9 months. The yellow lab is a little over a year, and Hawk here is 2 years old. The
Now,
Indian dog.
why do you call them doodles?
Well, they're golden retriever poodle crosses. So
Great
technically
big
they're
poodles?
mutts. Yeah.
They're and what qualities do come from each parent? Oh, yes.
Because of the poodle in them, they tend to be hyperallergenic or at least less of a problem for people that have allergies. And also poodles are very, very intelligent. And then the golden retrievers have always made great service dogs because they're such loving companions and very willing workers. And when you combine those 2 things, you just get these funny looking mops, but they're incredibly intelligent and loving.
Well, why don't you have little bitty dogs? Tell me. What's the reason for these giants? These must weigh 50 pounds.
Well, if you were to drop your backpack, how would that itty bitty dog pick it up and put it back in your lap if you were in a wheelchair?
Okay.
Or how would it jump up and hit the light switch?
Okay. How much do they weigh? What?
They average about 60 pounds.
60.
The little Indian dogs, they only get up to about 45. But all of these dogs learn, because they go so many places with us, they learn how to kind of curl up and get out of the way.
Uh-huh. Well, now, this is multiplying. We're multiplying. We go from 3 to 4 to 5 here. What is this about?
The 2 that are sitting up on the bench are the 2 that went to the boys at graduation this year. Both of those little boys had brain tumors, and I know you got to see them at graduation. So these 2, Bailey and Ishi, graduated and went off with them. And then Snoopy here is with us. This is when he was a lot younger. And Denali's laying down here. She'll be graduating in 3 months. And Lewis went on to become one of the breeding dogs in our program. And so he lives as a pet with a family down in Sacramento and goes to the Shriners Children's Hospital as a therapy dog.
Wow, because they can do things especially with kids
Yes.
that no person could do.
Right.
What has it meant to you to be a volunteer?
It's been a wonderful experience, and the number one question I get asked is, how are you going to give him up? And that's just going to the graduation and seeing those kids receive the dogs, and it's an adventure. It's a real interesting experience that I'm excited for him.
Will you keep in touch?
Oh, I hope so. Absolutely.
It's not like county fair where you give up your animal to a meat market.
Yeah. And I know how good he'll be as a companion or as a service dog. So I'm really excited to see
You
what's
don't ever
ahead.
cut their bangs so they can see out?
Snoopy down. No, Snoopy down. Good
Well,
boy. You can put a beret in them.
Yeah, we do.
They actually, I think these are the only 2 that have not ever been clipped. A lot of the other raisers chose to give poodle cuts to them or cut them really short because they live in LA or hotter areas. And I don't know, we just gluttons for punishment. We like the long fluffy hair, and so we just grew them away. And
They're simply beautiful. How often do they need baths?
Snoopy.
I mean,
Dale has a funny story about that.
please, Dale.
Well, just the other day, these 2 have been at my house, and the other day while I was taking a short nap and it was raining outside, they went outside and dug in the mud and
Yeah.
played and got absolutely covered in mud, and then decided to come into the house and continue the playing. So when I woke up, it only took an hour to bathe each one, for each one.
Only an hour, and then how much for the house?
That took a while.
She's still speaking to me. I was happy about that.
They had a great time. They had fun.
What is that? Song dog?
That's the name of the American Indian dog kennel that Kim LaFlamme has. He calls it Song Dog Kennels. And they have a wonderful website. If you go to indiandogs.com, he has incredible history of the breed and pictures. And it's incredible how much effort he has put into both the breed and the website just to teach people about them. He's so careful about where his dogs end up, and everyone has to have interviews before they get dogs, and he's really careful about where they go.
Well, I know when Curtis Wright came to do our 50th wedding anniversary, Doug and I were so pleased to see him, but I'd say the high point of his whole trip was to go to your kennel and meet the, what do you call, kennel master, or what do you call this main man?
Oh, he's the
The
Indian
breeder.
dog guru. I don't know. He definitely is a master at his breed.
Now, what dog do we have here?
You know, I don't know all of these dogs. These are dogs that are off of Kim's website. He's had various people that have taken his dogs and done things with them. I know some of these have become therapy dogs or service dogs for people. There's quite a few that do search and rescue, and a lot that just do obedience and agility and fun things with their dogs as well.
So, why volunteer? That's one of my favorite questions. I've seen you at the dressed all up in the uniform of the sheriff's posse.
Mm-hmm.
There's another gift that you're giving back to the community. How does that dovetail in here with your guide dogs for the blind and now this?
You know, it's just the feeling that you get when you volunteer. It's like nothing else. You know, it's that warm fuzzy that you can do for somebody else. That, you know, it's a paycheck in itself.
14th year of doing Better Life TV, and somebody said, "How much are you getting paid now?" I said, "Same like I started, free." You're busy with other things besides. You're mother of.
I've got two little guys at home. I've got a 5-year-old and a 2-year-old, and they keep me kind of busy.
And what do they think of these dogs?
Well, you know, they're my chief distractions, is what I call them, because you couldn't train a service dog if you didn't have a lot of commotion, and they provide all of that.
Well, I did take a picture at that training, and maybe we'll cut it in here because that was pretty exciting. Your brother came all the way
Yes,
from
Santa Cruz.
to be at the graduation, and Mom and Dad, of course, were there.
Yes.
Now, have your family gotten involved in your dog?
Actually, when I took Joe to Minneapolis this summer, we were staying with my sister, and she has since investigated being a puppy raiser in her area, in the Minnesota area, because she was so interested in the whole concept, and she loved this particular dog.
Fuzzy.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and your daughter has really seemed to show an interest, and it's so fun to watch her handle Joe.
She has, and she would really like to be a puppy raiser when she gets a little bit older. And so when she comes out, if we're doing a training, Sandy will give her a dog to work with, and the responsibility, as you were saying before, she really takes seriously. And
How
enjoys
old's your
it.
daughter?
She's 11.
And Sandy, what age do you recommend?
If the parents are involved, 10 and 11 is a great age to get started. But the responsibility will fall on the parent at that point. You know, I started raising when I was 16, and that was a good age to do it independently. So I think a lot of it depends on the child and how responsible they are.
I just love to watch this dog like a big fuzzy bear moving off the. They are so well behaved. I can't imagine putting 4 teenagers together here on the program and not having more commotion.
Maybe if you could put leashes on the teenagers, you'd do better.
Now, would leash worked on you when you were a kid?
Probably not.
I was lucky enough to be at her wedding. What a treat. You know, all her friends, and here she came in the carriage with the horses, and it was simply wonderful. I thought,
It was a fun day.
oh, and it was all about family, and because of her wedding, I met more people that I'd known me since I was born. And how would we have ever guessed that your cousins, your husband's cousins, your husband-to-be's cousins were really my childhood friends.
Yeah, it's a small world.
The Highland family from, they live up in Douglas County. And you have, what about this huge book? Where does this come from?
Well, my mom was kind enough to put this together for me, but it's basically our website that she went and printed out. If you go to canine-angels.org, you can visit our Canine Angels website, and it has all kinds of stories of our graduates and puppy raisers and places that you can volunteer and donate and somehow get involved. And so it's just been really nice to have this printed out so that I can share it with others when we go around to do booths and functions.
Well, and people around here will know your mom, Marcella Lynch,
Yeah.
who does the cooking schools right here on Three Angels Broadcasting, doesn't she?
She does.
From time to time. And
Maybe we
and
should get her to do a dog biscuit recipe next.
aha, there must be good dog biscuit recipes. I've seen them in the store. What do your dogs eat? I mean, who pays for your food? And
The puppy raisers take care of those expenses while they have the dogs at their home.
okay, and trips to the vet.
Also.
So this is your contribution along the way. And who
Exactly.
scoops up dog?
Me.
And so it's just whether it happens in the park or whatever, you are responsible.
Oh, always, yes, yes.
You know, I wanted to hear that. I think people need to know that this is part of loving an animal and being a very, very good neighbor.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for coming, and thank you for showing these beautiful animals. You can help, folks. You can help with donations, or you can help by raising a dog, or you can just help by being a friend. I'm Bernie Martin Beck, saying thank you for tuning into Journeys and Journals.